Hey everybody, have you ever wondered what it would be like to cosplay as The Undertaker and defeat all your opponents with dirty chair shots?
Steel chair! Heyman just fell to their feet. Lesnar steel chair in hand. You saw. Oh no! Hey! Sarah, damn it! He's gonna win! Oh my God!
Probably not, because you're not a psychopath, but I am. So today, we're going to get to the bottom of a very simple question. Can you beat Caves of Cud by only doing damage with a metal folding chair? In order to get to the bottom of this, I played a run of Caves of Cud with the following rules. Rule number 1, the only damage I can do must come from a metal folding chair. I can throw them, mod them, and of course, smack the shit out of things with them. Damage from any other source, like grenades or damage reflection, is against the rules, as is any damage from followers. Rule number 2, no selling of liquids or using cloning draught for anything but stocking regeneration tanks. You can get stupid rich very easily and clone traders for easy equipment. I've got to earn all the equipment I get. Rule number 3, no general merchant abuse. This is for things like proselytizing and dominating merchants for free stuff. There needs to be a cost for all the things that I get. Rule number 4, no polygel or eater's nectar injector farming. I could spend hours passing time to farm for polygel and comb the deserts for easy nectar injectors, but none of that. Now that we have the rules down, let's look at our weapon of choice. The metal folding chair does 1d2 points of damage per penetration and a max PV of 4. It functions as a cudgel and can be modded with cudgel mods. If you're paying enough attention, you'll notice that this is actually worse than if we had nothing at all. After all, at least our hands don't have a limited PV. We can only deal damage with the chair, so the build we're going for is to make the most out of the cudgel properties of the chair and stack our survivability so that we can at least outlive our opponents. The idea of the build is really simple. Carapace gives us insane survivability, big AV, big resistances. This will give us plenty of time to be able to react to anything that hits us hard with escape gear if we need it. Double muscled is actually not at all for the strength. The strength doesn't help us much. Instead, it's for the chance to daze. We'll be stacking that with a natural chance that cudgels have to daze in order to stack stuns and eliminate enemy turns. Heightened quickness and photosynthetic skin are both just to make us faster. If we have more attacks, we have more stun chances, and we can better lock down our enemies. Two-headed is for more survivability from effects like stuns and confusion, which could be lethal to us. Later on, we can make better use of the extra head and face slots as well with gear and mods. Slime glands are just, I had 1 MP, had to spend it on something. They're decent to avoid slippage. Tygon has big dreams of being a legendary wrestler, but all legends need to start somewhere. We start out by spawning in 2 metal folding chairs. We could dive ruins until I found 2, but there's not much challenge in that and it would just take forever. So I'll use these until I find my own. I spawn in 2 because there's a natural 15% offhand chance until I get single weapon fighting skills, and I don't want to accidentally fail a challenge by hitting with the offhand that doesn't have a chair. This means I'll have no light at all until I get that skill, so my first course of action is to level up to get opportune attacks. Luckily, I've got baboon-shaped XP pinatas near Red Rock. Yeah, this will be rough. Heightened quickness I bump first. These early levels are pretty meaningless, but before too long I get enough SP for opportune attacks, and now we can get lit. Since strength is pretty useless aside from carrying capacity, I'm boosting agility as much as possible. My first wall comes in the form of these hulking baboons. They hit super hard, so Tygon needs to treat them with some respect by yelling at them to reduce their stats enough to win a fight. After leveling up off the baboons, I'm ready to pop into Red Rock at level 5. Even with just a chair, I'm cleaning up pretty well here. The third strata is full of fungus. Normally, this is a good thing. You can just throw torches on the brood puffs and you get massive XP, but that's against our rules. I'll be trying my best to avoid them and avoid getting a fungal infection. Well, so much for that. I get the corpse, but I actually get the quest from Mehmet. There we go. Moving on to Old Argive, I set off on a search for the mechanical wings. Tygon's rash turns into glow crust on his hands, which is actually not a problem at all and will give us some good healing and items to sell. I spend way too long searching and nearly dying of thirst for these wings, but eventually I snag them and the oddly hued glow pattern. I also find some Mechanimus reputation that I never go back to for the Eater's Nectar Injector because I forget it's there. Repair, descend, collect, and return. I've got to get to Grit Gate now, so I'll take the shortcut. I've got to go beat Golgotha now, so I'll take the shortcut. I get my second piece of permanent gear here, the hologram bracelet. If you slept on this item in the past, don't, because it's super useful, especially in the upcoming dungeon. Now, I've got some work to do before Bethesda Susa, but I get the biggest part down after chewing my way out of Gritgate, penetrating strikes. This is a skill that makes the most difference in this run. Up until now, we fought against enemies with basically zero AV. When we run into an enemy with higher AV, it looks like this. Penetrating strikes gives us at least one penetration always, which means we'll do a minimum of 1 damage, which is a lot better than the 0 that we would do otherwise. With weapon expertise, 50% of the time we'll make a second attack, and backswing gives us another 25% for an additional strike. Weapon mastery will just make things even better when we eventually get to it, but we're a ways away from that. With this skill, our main build is actually complete as far as skills go. From here on, we just need supplemental skills. We're saving a lot of skill points by ignoring all the ranged weapon skills since they're completely useless for us. While we were going over that, I took a trip to Ezra and leveled up to level 18. Since we have the ultimate weapon, that's all we need to take on Bethesda Susa. Jotun's throwing axes can seriously hurt. While they won't kill us with RAV, we have technology. We show Jotun not to come in the ring without proper equipment and resistance to cold. Fjorn Kosef can't really hurt us anyway with our huge cold resistance from Carapace, so he gets slammed too. Hagaba can be tricky without any means to see him, but not for us. We clear out the rest of Bethesda Susa. Ignore this part right here. We kill the Alchemist. Get ganked by Greater Voiders. Get smashed by Acid Humor clones. And insert the disc. And insert the disc. Next on our plate is securing the spindle, which we can do right away, but it's around this time that I like to gear up a bit more. We kill a goat, a shitload of cats, and take a trip to the Ede Freehold, where we have an extra high-tier Dromad merchant who sells us our first polygel. Soon after, while running away from a croc who bit off our feet and our face, we get our other face and arm bitten off by another croc. Luckily, we had plenty of cloning drop to fix that issue. We encounter our new arch nemesis, the Tongue Tyrant, and decide to try our luck leveling elsewhere. During our leveling, we find a robot mayor and become indifferent to robots, and after 4 hours of play, we finally find our very first elemental mod, Electrified. Elemental mods scale in damage based off of your weapon tier. And since our weapon tier is a chair, it's as low as it gets, 1 extra electric damage. Our weapon usually only does 1 to 2 damage already though, so this is actually quite a big increase in our damage and is very welcome. As an added bonus, the electric damage is too weak to jump to other targets, so we don't actually have to worry about any friendly fire either. With our newly upgraded weapon, we kill more cats, dunk a loser through his own space-time vortex, finally cure our crusty hands, drink the only thing of value from a new people, and decide the Palladium Reef is too annoying to try and find loot from, so I transfer to some Baroque rooms. Since I'm neutral to robots and have way too much AV for the saps to actually drain me, there's not much that's threatening here. While I'm there, I kill myself and decide to check up on Oman Porch. I betray some random nerds for a painted ontological anchor and head to a historic site on the Moonstair. Luckily for me, it's the best possible thing to find, newly sentient beings. There are also hermits, but tier 8 newly sentient beings are slinths, which are stacked to the gills on extremely rare tech and weaponry. After clearing out the site over a few trips, my gear is looking pretty spicy, and I remember that I've actually got a main questline to wrap up, so let's get to it. I get a good drop for a call to arms and lock it down with some portable walls. I do forget to close it off behind me, but it doesn't actually end up being a big deal. fight is a big mess, but after tanking way more grenades than I thought I would have to, we end up victorious with the power of sitting technology and extreme cold. I clean up and head over to the Rainbow Wood. Clank agrees to build a jalopy, and we spread some spores real quick. We mark ourselves, head on into the Tomb of the Eaters. With flight and our complete fire resistance, this is a pretty free dungeon. We just fly over everything until we get to the Sultan burial chambers. Before trying to kill any of the cherubim, I check to see which of the chests would be best to raid, as I can only get one. I read the book, and while the cube would give me a Star Mollusk cherub companion, which would be amazing, unfortunately having it do any damage would be against the rules, so instead I opt for the Kessel face. To test my abilities out, I start by killing the cherubim at the top and work my way down, even though I only need to kill the bottom cherubim for the Kessel face. The transition from mechanical cherubim to biological ones was a bit of a dicey jump, but I eventually come out on top and resolve to take the bottom cherubim a little more seriously. I skip the third Sultan's cherubim as they're chaotic, and taking them out would be both extremely time consuming and risky if I were to get hit. The first Sultan's cherubim don't stand much of a chance with my huge AV, and I'm able to take them down and claim my prize. And I also kill one of the chaotic cherubim just to prove I can before heading to Bright Shoal. Once I'm back, I start digging over to have a chat with Chava in the Moonstare. Divrak asks to complete the ritual of Elsing, and I head over to the Taproot to complete my task. Down 40 strata I go, and complete the ritual. I turn into Divrak, smooch gel, pick up some body parts, and head over to Grit Gate to complete the Golem. All that's left to do is to head to Ezra for the final quest, Reclamation, after making sure the Golem stays behind. We need to kill 4 Legendary Templar and 1 Gersh Nephilim. The Gersh you get is random from the ones you have yet to kill, and since we didn't kill any of yet, it could be any of them. Let's see how this plays out. And there you have it. Caves of Cud, completed with only dealing damage with a metal folding chair. For good measure, I do kill a Borokoru, a Chrome Pyramid, a Galgal, and another Gersh Nephilim, just to show I can. But there ends the story of Tygon, the greatest wrestler the Salt has ever seen. See you later, friends.